The conflict in Ukraine came up during the Russian foreign minister's visit to Cuba on Tuesday. Sergei Lavrov is in Havana meeting with his Cuban counterpart. Cuba has backed Russia in the Ukraine crisis. CCTV's Michael Voss joins us live now with details.
Mike, Cuba is one of the very few countries that fully supports Russia over the Ukraine. And at their meeting on Tuesday morning, Cuba's Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez condemned the sanctions and also described the issue of NATO expansion as a grave threat to international peace and security. For his part, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov criticized the US trade embargo against Cuba before going on to reject the latest European and US sanctions against his country.
We reject the sanctions in whatever manner, particularly those linked to the United States and the European Union, against all common sense with respect to the events in Ukraine. The attempts to blame others is the nature of weak politicians or of those politicians who believe that their geopolitical ambitions have failed and now they try to blame others.
This was a flying visit, less than 24 hours in Cuba. My understanding is that Mr. Lavrov is already heading towards Nicaragua, the next stop on his Latin American tour. Mike.
And Michael, this is a brief tour of Latin America. What else does he have planned on his agenda? And it's interesting, this is coming at the height of this Ukraine crisis.
I'm told that this was all planned long before the Ukraine crisis took off, and that actually this tour has been seriously curtailed. He spent less than 24 hours in Cuba, spent one day in Nicaragua, and then flies on to Chile with a stopover at Lima airport for discussions with the Peruvian foreign minister. So it's something that was set up long before. They're talking about cooperation, they're talking about trade, they're talking about Russia's growing interest in Latin America, which along with China, and China's foreign minister was here last week. So it's about growing interest in this region as much as anything else.
Michael, less than 24 hours, but this is not the only diplomatic activity taking place in Cuba. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, while these meetings were going on between the Russians and the Cubans, one of Europe's leading negotiators is in Cuba. He's holding 2 days of discussions with Cuban counterparts to set up a new political and economic accord with Cuba. The European Union is trying to mend relations, if you like, and improve relations with Cuba. These talks could go on for another year or two. And then so far this year, while the United States, relations with the United States are frozen, many other countries, European foreign ministers and Latin America, have been here mending relations with Cuba.
Michael Voss, live for us in Havana. Thanks so much.